our next panel discussion. Our panelists are all in the house. We are going to be talking about the bullion trade and market post domestic spot gold exchange. The moderator for this panel is Mr. Harish Chopra of IGPC, currently a senior policy consultant in India Gold Policy Center at IIM Ahmedabad. He has a total work experience of 30 years, including 21 years in banking and financial services in the bullion banking and retail banking space. He has previously worked with the Bank of Nova Scotia, a leading international bullion bank, completing over 15 years. Everyone, as Mr. Harish Chopra takes up the stage, along with him, I would like to invite our other panelists up here. Mr. Chirag Thakkar, once again from Amrapali. Also inviting Mr. Shivanshu Mehta from MCX, inviting Mr. Ranjith Singh from BSE, Mr. Kumar Parmani from Yes Bank, Mr. Manish Gavaskar from HDFC Bank, Mr. Nagendra Kumar from NSC, and Mr. A.S. Sriram from Tamilnadu Jewelers Federation. Everyone, let's give a multifold round of applause for all these panelists here. Mr. Chopra, it's all yours now.
So I'm just being told that our time allotted now is 25 minutes, reduced from 1 hour earlier. So we just heard Sundaresan sir, and it was that he actually made some encouraging comments, and the promises which he has made for his inclination to work towards the exchange ecosystem. I'm sure the industry is going to take it very positively. So we had a grand inauguration of India International Bullion Exchange yesterday. And what we are now awaiting is a similar kind of a platform emerging for the domestic markets. And the space will be dominated by all our three leading exchanges, represented by Nagendra from NSC, Ranjith from Bombay Stock Exchange, and Shivanshu from MCX. So we will actually speak to them now what their plans are and when actually they are planning to start. As per the exchange, as per the operational framework provided by SEBI, and they in fact gave an in-principle approval to Bombay Stock Exchange I think back in February. And the other two exchanges are also, I'm sure, are working on. We'll talk to them when they are actually planning. We also have two of the bankers here, Kumar Parmani from Yes Bank and Manish Gavaskar from RBL. We will talk to them as to how excited they are about this initiative and how they're going to shape up their business going forward based on all these developments. Last but not the least, I have Mr. Sriram representing the jeweler side, and also, sorry, Mr. Deepak Gupta from Kundan Jewelry. So these, basically, we also need to know what their expectations are from this ecosystem and how they are going to integrate their businesses with the new style or new system which we are now anticipating. So without wasting much of time, I'll actually move to my questions. And in fact, first I must thank Sundaresan sir that he has already addressed half of our, half of my list, and we actually can now, it will contribute to finish our session within the allotted time. Starting with Shivanshu, what do you think is like, where do we stand now, and how soon do you think we can start working on this initiative?
No, see, as regards where does the industry stand now, we have liquid futures, liquid options, indices. We also have a vibrant delivery ecosystem within the futures, which has seen huge amount of delivery. Why I say this is because it is in the same context that we are now going to introduce a spot product soon. So we've seen, markets are mature enough to have seen 129 tons of gold delivered.
So what is that which is holding up now? So, so you are already in this ecosystem, so launching another...
So the regulator has actually approved this as a segment, as a contract. It can be done. And we look forward to doing that because we have established liquid categories as well already. So it will add to that. And sooner than later, the other vision which Sundareshan ji also said about, the mobilization of the gold via recycling. So very recently, we have done under the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission, we have incorporated 4 refiners of Indian refiners. So we feel that this spot contract will galvanize all that domestic gold into exchange deliverable stock and help in financialization of this as an asset class. So as far as how and how, as I said, is the contract, and when is concerned, you'll see this soon. Preparations already underway.
All right. Kumar, as I see you as a passionate bullion banker, is it a good news for bankers or is it a threat to your existing business?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So any news is good news is what I think actually. And if there is anything which is, let's say, a spot exchange, domestic, what I can only say is there's a place for everybody, be it a bullion dealer, be it a banker, be it a refiner internationally or a foreign bank. I think everybody plays to their strength. So we may have to realign our strength if we as a bank directly cannot participate on an exchange. But I think we'll play to our advantage because as banks, they're known for funding. And I think with that, and that is one of the important aspects, of course, in the entire trade.
So have you had any dialogues with RBI as to what is their stand as of now?
So on and off, we keep having dialogues, I think, and we, so far the decision has not been, for the banks to be allowed in the trade, and I respect that for some reason. I'm sure RBI will be having their own standpoint, and I think once they are, if there's any enablement they will do, I'm sure banks will do their best.
All right, thank you. Deepak ji, as a refiner, if you have to look at, what all opportunities are you looking at in the spot exchange ecosystem for a refiner?
Yes, we will get more opportunities like whatever gold is idle in the market, we will get. And what we understand that the gold which is deliverable in spot exchange, it is only India good delivery. So we are India good delivery bar manufacturers, so we will get more business.
So does that mean that you will be able to convert your output or turn around your output much faster than the existing system?
Yes, we will get more volume.
Thank you. Sriram sir, so like, as the ecosystem which is being developed, it is aimed at catering to the last end of the value chain. And so what do you think, so as we have discussed so far, it gives an indication that we have plans to cater to the last end. So what is going to be the role of bullion traders going forward?
The question I am thought of asking you also the same what you have put to me.
So maybe some of the exchanges can take that because, Nagendra, why don't you give an insight on that since you have also partnered with IBJA, so you would have the insight.
Okay. Because the IBX is a good platform, it's a good opening. It helps our Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar. At the end of the line, the regulations has to be pronounced to make the user to understand how it is going forward. It's going to help us. We hope it will come through.
All right. And Nagendra, anything to add on this?
So I'm closely monitoring the time. I don't know whether I'll get another question. So I'll say whatever I wanted to say. So see, I'll add to what you had asked Kumar. So if you look at the IIBX framework, the international framework, see, banks were not allowed there also, right? I think, the first step is now the banks are being allowed to do the PCM clearing business. I think that's a great move. And our EDs are also mentioned that, they are in dialogue with RBI to ensure that the banks start trading. So I think, down the line, we are definitely sure. He said on and off they're talking to the central bank. but we can definitely expect at some stage with SEBI's intervention and SEBI's push, banks will start playing a big role on the spot platform.
All right.
And the second most important thing for the entire community, what we feel is that, everybody is aware that, we have signed up with the IGPC in setting up the spot, where 51% will be held by the institutions. NSE will have 15%. We are still open. We are open for BSE and MCX in case they are interested, they change their minds, right? After today's event, they can join us. And 49% is for the industry, right? So here, the most important thing, what we feel is that, which we have been discussing with IGPC is, we are introducing this concept of depository here, right? Nowhere in the world, bullion and depository go hand in hand. They are exclusive, right? You have bullion, you have vault, and when you talk about large banks, bullion dealers, right? They are always used to work with, even in India's largest commodity exchange where all the deliveries happen, right? I mean, once in a while, let me give him the credit and the compliment.
Thanks
right?
for recognizing
once in a
that.
while, I have to do that. So people are used to go to the vaults, right? I mean, see, this concept of depository is a new animal altogether, and at the same time, it's going to create a lot of operational overload. So from NSE's point of view, and we have a clear understanding with IGPC that creating an awareness as how the entire framework is going to change the way the existing bullion delivery framework will happen. And we are also trying to educate people in terms of, how the B2C environment, right? So today, sir rightly put it that as part of the EGR framework, you deposit the gold, you convert it into an EGR, and then you start trading.
Nagendra, I promise you, I will have one more question for you.
Okay.
And in fact, so that's why I'll now move to Ranjith.
Let me finish this. So what we are trying to say is that, there is a difference in the way the EGR framework is going to get structured. There is a B2B and there is a B2C. So as we speak, the current framework, what the regulator has put down, is more inclined towards B2C, where we are going to start a dialogue with the SEBI to ensure how we can...
Is it a viable business proposition, B2C?
If you are, no, yes. B2C is more on the digital side. I think, you have SGBs, you have ETFs, right? And if you go by the numbers, SGB, quick, I'll finish in 10 seconds. SGB has got close to 100 tons last 7 years. And ETF, we have close to 45 lakh or 50 lakh investors. And the AUM is around 20,000 crores, right? So when SGBs, which is giving 2.5% low risk, and if they are able to capitalize and get in so much AUM, and if ETFs are there, and we have a lot of digital platforms, I don't have those numbers. So when there is everybody who's able to survive in this, even this B2C, which the exchange is going to launch, I think, we'll have a place and opportunity to, make some money.
So Ranjith, actually continuing the same thing on the business viability point of view, as Nagendra also has touched upon this, is it actually a viable proposition? We will still keep importing the same number. We don't see any big jump in that happening. The regulators may also not like that. So what do you think is a good business proposition for you? Coming together or increasing the size without increasing the import?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Let me, at the outset, let me thank SEBI for giving us approval for launching EGR segment. As far as BSE is concerned, we are planning as a segment now. As of now, this is a management decision. So sorry, I cannot comment anything on that part now, as of now. As now, we are planning to launch a segment. As far as BSE is concerned, we got an in-principle approval. We conducted a mock testing. As per the system readiness is conducted last week only SEBI has done the inspection on the system side. We given a product specification to our regulator for their approval, for their blessings. Once we have everything in place, we are good to launch anytime. It's, since sir has already mentioned that few taxation part still pending, they are working with the government of India. As soon as the SEBI permits it, we will be able to launch a product. As far as the viability is concerned, we see this product as a very good product. Since sir has already mentioned that we are the largest, after China, we are the largest consumer of gold. almost 800 to 1,000 tons official figure which I'm mentioning. I don't know how much unofficial will comes. As far as the gold is concerned, we as promoting this as a SIP product for the retail participants, and for the jailers and the bullion dealer, they can participate on kilobar and 100 gram bars also. So we working closely with SEBI. As soon as we get, we are good to launch on that.
दीपक जी, आप डिजिटल गोल्ड में भी काफ़ी एग्रेसिव हैं, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि डिजिटल गोल्ड किस तरह से इसका फ्रेमवर्क बनेगा? इस नए, लेट्स अज्यूम नाउ एवरीथिंग गेट्स शिफ्टेड टू द एक्सचेंज सिस्टम, सो डिजिटल गोल्ड का कैसे काम करेगा? कुछ इस पे थॉट डाला?
Digital gold will go, like there is a difference. Like EGR will work for limited hours, but digital gold is working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it will go. One can buy a
So you're saying it's a parallel system which is gonna run, it will
Yes,
not
yes.
be, it will basically you're saying it will be competing with the EGR.
It will coexist.
Okay, that's interesting. So is that what you...
Can I counter? See, if you look at the digital gold, the structural issue is the bid ask, right? I mean, you go to any platform, the difference between the buy price and the sell price, I think, there is a huge spread. But when things come on the exchange platform, look at the ETFs, right? ETF is a classic case. So I think, the spreads are down to the last tick, which is 5 paise. So if you ask me personally, my personal views at some stage, the entire digital gold volume will get obviously routed through the exchange platform. And another point to add is ETF versus mutual funds, right? Structurally, mutual funds also track some of the large indices, and you have passive ETF funds. And why are the mutual funds AUM on the higher side vis-a-vis the ETFs is because on mutual funds you have distributors who are incentivized. So if we have a similar structure in the regulated environment of SEBI, where if you have market making, you have some incentives for people who are trying to push this digital gold concept. So a regulated environment where the bid-ask spread is narrow, everything is transparent, pricing, delivery, vis-a-vis an unregulated digital gold platform, I think, all of you will know the response.
So Manish, sorry,
I just wanted to come in. See, we have to look at certain important things which have been evidenced when we are talking about viability and B2C. You see, there are evidences of, for example, we launched the gold petal 1 gram deliverable contract, the only such contract in the whole world. That brings with it, like what Nagendra was saying, that the best interest of the consumer comes when there is a liquidity. Liquidity means order book depth and bid ask. Very clear. Let's be very crystal clear. That has been evidenced before, that in the gold petal contract, we have had deliveries of 61,000 plus coins of 1 gram denomination. What is this? This is SIP. Already enabled with our Comrisk system, DMAT holding and accumulation, receipt management system. So EGR is only an extension of this. It's not that we are going to, it's something different altogether. It's not a different animal. So there is an evidence of B2C efficiencies, retail interest, benefit to retail, which has been evidenced before. Another example is the 1 kg silver bar, which we made the basis for silver mini and micro contracts when we made them deliverable. 130 metric tons through 1 kg silver. Who is taking this? Retail. They are enjoying the weighted average, SIP by way of multiple order book levels.
So basically what you're suggesting is that you already have a retail clientele and it will be very easy for you to penetrate further on the new products.
I'm saying there's a latent demand for this type of a thing. EGR will help fulfill that latent demand further. So viability and B2C is definitely going to be there.
So Manish, let's assume that your dialogue with RBI goes the way you want it to be, and you are also allowed to participate in this ecosystem. So how do you think you will play a role in continuing the working capital, financing, which actually is very critical for the industry? So,
good afternoon to all. Very viable question. As Kumar mentioned, as Nagendra mentioned, there is an ecosystem, there are participants, and every participant has a role to play. And what we see as a bank is bank has played various roles in terms of their existing models of consignment business into this whole bullion part in financing as well as in servicing the end use customers. Maybe in the value chain we fit at a topmost or the second tier. Similarly, in the EGR and the spot exchange and the IIB exchange, banks will have a role to play in terms of maybe right now to start with a PCM, which the regulator has given us, maybe later a trading member. If at all the members want funding for their tradings, that is where the role will play. And I think banks support the ecosystem in terms of working capital. That is the main core role that banks have been playing for ages together. And I think to add on to Kumar's point is that every new system or a new tech that comes or a new, every player has its part. Every player may not have a defined part to play, but it is evolving. So as and when it starts and as and when the regulator gives us a permission, I think it will have to evolve as the regulation says.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to add something. See, as banks, we are financing jewelers in various ways, right? I mean, we have a trade finance full-fledged, we have a cash credit, we also supply raw material, and so even we supply, for example, we also handle the capital requirement in terms of import of machinery or the buyer's credit. I mean, there are a range of product, and I don't think there's any dearth of products around insofar as current requirements are concerned. So if there is an exchange model which probably creates a new product, I don't see a bank not supporting that. In fact, I would see a bank would provide extra line of product to enable and the transactions at the at the spot exchange or an EGR or something like that.
Okay. Sriram sir, may I ask you, do you think any cost advantage of you guys directly trading with the IIBX or domestic stock exchanges? Do you think that, have you got enough information on that?
Not yet. Not yet. But going forward, when the EGRs are encashed, for that matter, the individual is possessing gold to the EGR through the banks or whatever means. There is no value is involved into it. But when a customer walks into your jeweler, they exchange their gold for the new purchases. There the valuation comes into play. There the long-term capital gains is applicable. If that exemption is provided, the internal cycle of the old gold coming into the recycling.
So basically what you're saying is people who are holding the gold, and when they convert into EGR, that they could be...
Not in EGR, it is weight to weight. There is no value coming into play.
Okay.
But when they exchange their gold or the jewelry for that matter in their chest to the jeweler and changing it to the new version, then we have to apply the valuation. But the acquired value and now the value will be far different. Then if at all there is a gain, tax is applicable on it. If that tax is removed, like any other exchange tradable products, because there we have short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain. Here it is fully taxable. If that comes into play, people will come forward. The organized way of exchange will come into vogue, so that exchange of family-held jewelry will come into recycling in an organized manner. So the volumes will go up. It will help to curtail the import also to that extent.
So I have two last ones and very important ones. I think Nagendra goes first. So this basically, like we have heard in the morning, Dubai has introduced some very stringent measures on ensuring the responsible sourcing, very critical for India as well, from FATF review point of view. So what do you think should be the planning if exchanges has to take a lead on that front?
So that's too strategic for me to respond, but purely from an operational perspective, what I wanted to say is that if 3 exchanges are going to have the same contract, right, and everybody knows who launched India Good Delivery first, right? I mean, we may not have volumes, but we took the the lead in coming up with standards, and our standards are much stringent, right? Just the way NSE listing criteria is stringent, the way the refiners are getting onboarded onto our platform is very stringent. So when we have the same contract traded on 3 exchanges, right? And if the same refiner is also there on 3 exchanges, right? So that is a challenge, right? It's a puzzle to crack. But having said that, we need to have uniform standards, and I don't want to comment on what other countries are doing, but as far as our market is concerned, I think it is always good to have uniform and rigid standards.
So, Shivanshu, the last one from you. So whenever we talk about any viability, why don't we also look into what gold is already sitting here in the system and go much beyond the import, you know? So that's how we always talk about 25, 30,000 sitting. And so is there anything which you think, because there's a large volume.
Sure.
Just to add, we are already monetizing at the jeweler's counter. So, but that doesn't get, you don't know, that you do not have the account, and you do not have actual data of that, but almost 350 tons that gets exchanged over the jeweler's counter. So at least from that, is there a pie which can come to the exchanges?
Was the last line?
So out of this gold which is being exchanged, so can a part of that be converted into EGR if it is so efficient?
Pertinent point, and I'm happy that you asked me this immediately after Nagendra. We have had 1,250 kilograms of Indian refined gold delivered in MCX in the past 1 year since we launched the MCX good delivery norms for Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. And
so I'm talking more about the household gold.
Let me come to that, of course. These 4 refiners also recycle gold. The primary aim for introducing Indian refiners on MCX was to help aid the recycling of gold in India. And it has been proven that 1,250 kgs has already taken place. And this is, we have the stringent, like he said, norms called the MCX good delivery norms, which other exchanges also have their own, wherein it's a system of quality audits and financial audits. And only after clearing everything, 4 refiners have come through. So you are also aware that a lot of gold is being hedged on MCX, which is the exchange gold by these large jewelers who run these exchanges. I don't want to name, but the majority of that gold anyway is hedged here. Some of them are also approved refiners now. So this gold, once made of exchange standard, nobody can stop it from becoming either EGR or becoming, as things today stand, a deliverable.
So I think this is one thought which I just wanted to leave you with, and with this I think we need to conclude because we've already run out of time.
I have a question.
We may have some questions. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have a question with Shivanshu. जस्ट उन्होंने अभी बताया कि उनके गोल्ड प्लेटर जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है आई थिंक 2011 या 12 में लॉन्च
सर 2000 वो पहले हुआ था।
हाँ
तब वो 8 ग्राम और 1 ग्राम में वो
हाँ जी
8 ग्राम में थी। 2019 में
हाँ जी
डिलीवरी भी 1 ग्राम में हो गई
सर। उसमें अभी उन्होंने बताया कि 61,000 पीसीस का डिलीवरी हुआ है, तो 61,000 पीसीस यानी कुछ नथिंग है। आप देखो तो 61 किलो 61 किलो ही हुआ है, जबकि इंडिया का जो गोल्ड मार्केट है वो तकरीबन 80 लाख कॉइन्स पर ईयर है। 80 लाख से 1 करोड़ कॉइन्स है। अकेला एमएमटीसी पेम 40 लाख कॉइन्स बेचता है हर साल, और उसके सामने अगर इतना ऑर्गेनाइज एक्सचेंज है 2003 से 2023 तक, यानी 20 साल पुराना एक्सचेंज अगर 61,000 कॉइन्स ही वॉल्यूम कर पा रहा है, तो समथिंग आपके अंदर कुछ उसका आत्ममंथन करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ये कोई बड़ा क्वांटिटी नहीं है कि इसको आप प्राइड ले सके। ये प्राइड लेने का क्वांटिटी नहीं है सर।
नहीं वासु भाई, ये एग्जैक्टली यही हमें थॉट यहाँ पे करना था, और आई थिंक दे हैव ऑलरेडी अंडरस्टूड दैट।
देखिए, इसमें फैक्ट्स को स्टेट करना बहुत ज़रूरी रहता है ताकि पूरा बैकड्रॉप समझ में आ सके। ये तो एक जर्नी है। टोटल अगर 129 टन डिलीवर हुआ है एमसीएक्स में से, ये तो एक सबसे छोटा सा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज इसके अंदर रिटेल फोकस है, ईजीआर के साथ बहुत कॉमनैलिटी है, इसलिए इस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट की बात की जा रही है। ये नहीं कहा जा रहा है कि 61,000 हो गया तो बस बात ही बहुत बड़ा वो हो गया, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है।
दूसरा क्वेश्चन,
तो शुरुआत है, हम आपके साथ हैं।
अच्छा, दूसरा क्वेश्चन है, अभी श्रीराम सर ने बोला कि जो हमारा ओल्ड गोल्ड पड़ा हुआ है, जो हमारे पास 25,000 से 30,000 टन के आसपास पड़ा हुआ है, तो आपने क्या एफर्ट लगाए जो इसमें आप, यू आर द बिगेस्ट एक्सचेंज इन द इंडिया, एंड आपने कितनी रिफाइनरियों को आपने विजिट किया, आपने कितनी रिफाइनरी को एग्रीगेट किया, या आपने उसकी प्रोसेस कितनी फास्ट बनाई? क्योंकि आपके पास इतना अपॉर्चुनिटी है, आपके पास मार्केट है, आपके पास वॉल्यूम है.
Nagendra, he's gonna be a very tough partner for you, I'm telling you.
आपके पास अपॉर्चुनिटी है, मार्केट है, पूरा आपके पास एक सिस्टम बना हुआ है. तो आप इसको क्यों इतना लेजीली ले रहे हैं? क्यों इतना इसको डिले प्रोसेस में डाल रहे हैं कि कोई जल्दी से एक्रीडेट नहीं हुए? क्योंकि ऑलमोस्ट 28 रिफाइनर हैं जो NABL BIS हो चुके हैं, और उसमें से अभी आपके पास 2 या 3 या 4 रिफाइनर अभी जस्ट आपने टाइटन को एग्रीगेट किया है. पर आप कितने इसको लेजीली क्यों ले रहे हैं? आप इसको फास्ट क्यों नहीं बना रहे हैं? वो मेरा क्वेश्चन है आपके लिए.
किसी चीज़ को फास्ट बनाना एक कोई तात्पर्य नहीं है. तात्पर्य ये है कि जब जो रिफाइनर्स सिलेक्ट होके आते हैं ना, अल्टीमेटली भले ही वो शुरू में
Shivanshu, I think this is actually a very long discussion.
One-to-one, yeah.
So I think we can take it one to one.
As you say.
And
whichever
in
way.
fact, Sriram sir has requested concluding remarks from him. So
I want SEBI person has to take note of my
sir,
request. As a
sir, he
jeweler,
has a request.
from the jewelry fraternity, we want this recommendation to be taken forward to the table of the Government of India. See, when an immovable property is sold, there is an exemption on the gain regarding the tax pertinent within if it is reinvested in the same house sold, house purchased. Similar exemption, why not be given for the jewelry sold, converted into the jewelry? Then the organized way of happening, the regulatory framework, people will be start joining in, and it will become a flood like data will be coming in. So that you are the right person to take it to the right north block or south block, whatever it may be. Thank you, sir.
As sir has already promised that his doors are always open for any suggestions, and I'm sure you can have a discussion with him. So with this, I conclude this session. I think we've been able to manage it within time, or maybe 5 minutes more.
You've made it a
Thank you.
stellar
Thanks for your
job,
patience.
everyone. Let's give a huge round of applause to this panel. A bigger round of applause to Mr. Harish Chopra for keeping it so nicely controlled. Sir, one final request, a memento to each one of our speakers. Starting with, can we please have the memento for Mr. Deepak Gupta? A big thank you to Mr. Shivanshu Mehta. A big thank you to Mr. Ranjith Singh. Mr. Ranjith Singh. Mr. Kumar Parmani. Thank you to Mr. Manish Gavaskar. A big thank you to Mr. Nagendra Kumar. A big thank you to Mr. A.S. Sriram. May I request Mr. James Jose to please join us on the stage to present a memento to our chairperson of the session, Mr. Harish Chopra. He's coming. You have to give this to him. This memento to Mr. Harish Chopra. Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to do a bit of post-lunch workout and work those palms? Let your fingers do the talking. Thank you, gentlemen, for keeping...